Good morning and thank you so much for staying with us. It's a lovely Wednesday, the 19th March 2025. And of course, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the continuation of your current affairs program, TMI, coming to you live from ITV Network right here in the City of Excellence, Lagos State. My name is Joshua Okata. Today on the show, we will be looking at the God's Will versus Akpabio saga with a special bias to Falana's stand against the inquiry into Natasha's visit at the IPU. And of course, we'll be looking at some of the integral parts of the visit of the Kogi State Senator. I won't be doing this alone as I'm being joined by my guest in the person of Mr. Ziggy Ibe. He is a political affairs analyst. Good morning, Mr. Ziggy, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
All right. You've been following this back and forth between Godswill Akpabio, the Senate President, and Natasha. And from all indication, it seems that this issue is not dying anytime soon. Now, the issue currently we're faced with is the fact that she actually visited the IPU to be alleged that she was uninvited. Now, my question to you is this. Nigeria is in the news again, and as usual, for an embarrassing episode with the fact that the Senate member in the person of Natasha actually visited the IPU. And the case is that she took a matter that should be an internal affair of the Senate to the table of the IPU. What's your take on that?
Thank you so much. This Natasha issue has been with us for quite a while and is not yet abating because so many people had viewed it from different angles. Natasha case with Godswill Akpabio has been viewed from different quarters because some felt it was a sexual harassment. Some felt it was an issue that arose from the floor of the red chamber. But we might try to put it succinctly where some of these things belong to. The case between Natasha and Akpabio, it is just an issue that arose from sitting positions, not necessarily sexual harassment.
Really?
Part of what actually triggered so many of these things is because sexual harassment was brought in, and that's the sentimental aspect of it that actually fueled this situation. I refuse to talk about the sexual aspect of this because both individuals had the historicity of proximity. In the past, Akpabio had been accused of sexual advancements. You remember the Nudia, the GMD of NNPC. Natasha herself, on her own part, had the issue with Reno Omokri, with this guy too in the National Assembly. Okay, so I wouldn't want to talk much about it because I'm not a spirit to know what transpired between Godswill Akpabio and Natasha. It was a private affair. But what happens at the floor of the National Assembly was worth discussing about, and that is the changing of position of Natasha to where it rightly belonged. And you see, for Natasha to have gained this popularity was because she meddled the whole thing up to look like I have been sexually embarrassed and you are not talking. So she felt Nigerians are not talking much about it, and she has to graduate it to taking it to IPU. on the floor of the Parliament Union, Women Parliament Union. Okay? And going there, Natasha herself is a lawyer who should know better. So instead of her discussing the real issue, she now took the sexual harassment from Akpabio to mean that that's why she was suspended from the floor of the Red Chamber. But that is not the issue. She was suspended because she flouted the laws of the institution. She flouted the laws of the Red Chamber. That was why she was it was asked. So she was not removed from that place because there was issue between her and Akpabio on the sexual aspect. So that's where she confused the public, the members of the public, to mean that she was maltreated or she was not given a fair hearing. Natasha flouted the law of the rules of the house, of the Red Chamber. She refused to sit on her position before giving her the mic to talk.
All right. Now you've established, and that is left for Natasha to prove if actually she's putting up this case based on sexual harassment or seat allocation. But for the purpose of our conversation, let us, restrain it to the issue of the Interparliamentary Union. Now, my next question. It is believed that Natasha played a fast one on the Senate Assembly and, of course, the people of the Federal Republic by making her appearance at the IPU. Some said she was uninvited. Now, my question to you is, what are the criteria for an individual to be nominated as an attendee to such meeting?
Certainly, she must have been given opportunity to speak there.
Was she actually invited or nominated?
We were not as much told how she gained entrance into there. We were not. I've not read about it. Okay? But for she to have been given that hearing means is either she has sought for it and she was invited by that woman folk.
So in this case,
okay, so
it's two-way. Either she solicited for it, or she was nominated. Which are you standing on?
The nomination might not be too right in the context of this discussion. I felt she must have asked for it. Okay. Then a leeway is given to her for a hearing, because I'm sure one of her grouses is that I was maltreated. I was not given a fair hearing. I was not asked to explain myself, and the next was that I was suspended. But on the ground of suspension is what I tried to establish earlier, that she was not suspended because of the sexual harassment that she alleged. That was not the issue. Okay, what she was suspended for was because she was not in her right position and she became unruly on the floor of the Senate.
Okay.
And now she to have gone to that place, Interparliamentary Union, to have said what she said, that she was sidelined, she was not given a fair hearing because she eventually said he was sexually harassed. That wasn't the issue. So that's why I say she modeled up the whole thing to look like it was why she was suspended, but that wasn't the issue.
All right. Now, I still maintain that whatever she goes there to present is totally her prerogative. Now, my question to you is that, is it entirely impossible that whether she solicited or she was actually nominated, could she have gone there without the knowledge of the Nigerian Senate, the Nigerian government through its agencies and ministries?
I'm sure she sought for all this. I don't know. But the issue remains that Natasha is on a mission.
Without the knowledge of the Nigerian government.
Exactly. So she is on a mission either to tarnish the image of the personalities in the Senate or the Nigerian government for not have been on her side. Because, you know, when you are having an issue with someone, the person will do everything possible to bring you down on her own side, in her favor. So I think that was what she is asking for. Because when she went to that floor, she was not actually saying what that transpired. What transpired was you were not on your seat when opportunity was given to you to speak. And the idea was that you must be on your seat for you to be given opportunity to speak. So instead of her giving reasons why she was suspended, she went overboard to speak about another issue that is not related to why she was suspended. Right. Now, that's why I say she muddies it up, even here in our land, so that to curry the support of Nigerians. You understand? Because each time you talk about sexual harassment on a woman from a man, it is louder than what happens to her on the floor of the Senate. The other book says you must not be on another seat before you are given opportunity to speak. But she flouted it. And instead, she brought up an issue that happened about 2 years ago. So these issues are not related. But she felt it a good time to actually rubbish the name of Godswill Akpabio. I don't speak for Godswill. If I both individuals, I'm not their fans. Okay, no, but the issue here is that for she to have gone that far means she wants further, not clarifications, because she knew what she does. She wants further support from local and international personalities to actually come hard on Godswill Akpabio and the country itself. Because what she went is for Nigeria to be brought to justice. Good. And the person that is involved.
Now, in that wise, we could say safely that she actually went there to have a fair hearing, since she couldn't be given that opportunity at the Senate. Let us establish it at that point, because it is left for her to prove what she actually went there. No,
it wasn't
for us to be able to adjudge her.
Yeah, it wasn't that she wasn't given a fair hearing here. That's what she felt, that I wasn't given a fair hearing.
So let us,
because she was invited to be heard from, but instead of treating the matter that is at the eye of the storm, she diverted the whole attention to an event that happened few years ago between her and the Senate president.
All right, so we'll leave that for her to, clarify when she's given a fair hearing, perhaps at a competent court of jurisdiction.
Maybe.
Now, let's look at the issue right again. As it stands right now, it is believed that the Kogi State Senator, Natasha, actually went to the IPU to wash her dirty linen in the public.
Oh, yeah. At the country's image too.
Yes, at the country's expense. Now, what is your take on the fact that information available to us is that she went there uninvited? So it means that she actually crashed into that event.
To me, it is a wild goose chase. Deliberately to drag Nigeria and her persons in the mud. Okay, because I keep saying it, the issue that she took there wasn't actually what happened here.
You have overflogged that.
You understand?
Yes.
So, actually, going further to drag Nigeria in that parliamentary ground, in that parliamentary floor, means she actually wants to see further what Nigeria is made up of. How Nigeria is not supporting the gender she belongs to.
Now let's look at this issue about the legal luminary who has also waded into this. I'm talking about Mr. Falana.
Yes.
He has said that he's not in support of the inquiry into her visit at the IPU. Because of course, as we have it now, the DSS and the NIA have been mandated to probe further as to her she got there. Now the question is, if we eventually go into that probe, Falana is of the opinion that this would bring further disgrace
to the country.
To the country.
Yes.
And of course, will also put the Tinubu-led administration in further embarrassment, considering the fact that some persons within the administration of the Tinubu-led government were one time or the other accused of similar offense, leaving the country and going to expose a military junta in the person of Sani Abacha, General Sani Abacha. So what's your take on that?
Each time an internal conflict is taken out of the country to another country, you are invariably washing your dirty linens outside the shores of the country. Okay? Nigeria doesn't live in exclusivity. Nigeria is the country, the world is becoming a global village. When you feel you are not given the fair hearing, there are internal mechanisms to do all this. But when you ignore all these people and you went ahead to tell other communities who you feel could help you out, you are further washing Nigerians' internal issues outside the shores of the country. Yes, Nigeria, like we all know, is grappling with a good image, grappling with it, such that we don't need further disgracing or further disgrace in other countries of the world. So Natasha haven't got the crashing into the IPU in order to make her case being heard, as she felt it wasn't enough here. It's further bringing disrepute to the country. No. And talking about personalities in the government and all that, why not? Akpabio is a personality in the government. Other people are personalities in the government. And it is further disgracing the personalities outside the shores of the country. I don't know her intention, and that's the truth of the matter. I don't know her intention. But if her intention is to be heard further, or is to be given a fair hearing, all well and good. But that will further expose individuals who are involved in the case she took there. Okay? And I don't know the sanctions that will be given to individuals. But there are certain sanctions, I'm sure, she was, because she has been properly advised on what to do.
So we believe she has
because she's a governor.
All right, now we'll be going
she's a lawyer who's supposed to know higher or know more than what she's doing now. So nobody will say she doesn't know. She knows what she's doing.
Okay, so we'll be going for a short break now, and when we return, we'll be looking at some of the issues that might likely crop up if eventually these agencies go into such investigation. Let's go for a break, and when we return, we'll be taking the discussion to the front lines. Thank you so much for staying with us, and of course, it's still your program, TMI, and of course, we've been discussing the visit the Kogi State Senator paid at the IPU, and of course, what its implications are if an inquiry by the ministry and agencies of government are to go into such. And of course, I'm being joined by my guest in the person of Mr. Zegibe, a political affairs analyst who has been giving us his perspective as regards this. Well, now let's look at the implication, because obviously, from every indication, there is going to be a probe or an inquiry into this. And this might also lead to the expose. And of course, trying to borrow the statement of the president some time ago, where he said that if such inquiries are to be made into his educational background, it might bring some level of irreparable damage. Now, trying to link that up to what Falana said, our inquiry through the agencies of government into this might expose, or if need be, bring some level of irreparable damage to the Tinubu-led administration. What is your take on that?
Natasha felt she wasn't heard enough here. And going to that floor where is mostly dominated by women, interparliamentary union, means she wants that case to be further treated by women folk where she belonged. No doubt individuals will be named. No doubt. Like I earlier said, the implication is that sanctions dangles on those individuals who will be found guilty, because she went there with names. She went there with names who she felt were involved in this whole saga. Okay? The direct person I'm sure that repeatedly must be called is the SP, the Senate president, who she allegedly said that sexually harassed her, and some other people that played role in this. But if eventually they are named by the independent inquiry that might be set up by this body, certainly there will be sanctioned. If they are found, indicting, if they are found on the wrong side of the law, because you don't dangle and ask on someone who is free. Then Natasha cannot just go there, mention names, and you are guilty of this. No, there will be discreet inquiry. There will be discreet activities, and a lot of things will be done in finding who actually did what. So at this point, Natasha will not just say this person did this and it will be picked. It's going to be a discrete case where someone somewhere will be asked certain questions. And if you are found if you are found wanting, and those information are out against you, then there will be sanctions. It's either internal sanctions or international travel bans. We've had cases in the time past where individuals who were found guilty of being slided with travel bans, their properties overseas confiscated, and other sanctions that they found or they meant good for such offense. So nobody will be named and it goes that way. There must be inquiry, and there will be good search. There will be open discussions about it. Okay, individual will not be named and they will be sanctioned.
Falana knew what he was saying when he said if further probe goes into that, a lot within the Tinubu-led administration will be affected. Do you think that if sanctions are actually meted out on anyone found wanting within the Tinubu-led administration, do you think that they would still be within the administration working on that cabinet?
I don't know the weight of allegations that took her there, and I wouldn't know the sanctions that are necessary for those found guilty of it. But I know every sanction or every scum with its own penalty. So I think those penalties will be marshaled out to those found wanting in those area. Okay, so at this point, when names are not given yet, everything is within the realms of allegations and thinkings. Those individuals are still working where they are still working. They are still there until sanctions are being sledged on them, and the necessary steps will be taken against them.
All right.
So certainly it will weigh down on the government in where they represent, because each time government loses an individual to his duty, you might not see it as a welcome development because it tells on the government.
All right. Thank you so much, because this is still a developing story.
Oh, yeah.
So by the time we're seeing the feedback, if actually a panel of inquiry has been set up and of course established, we'll definitely invite you to have your take on this issue.
No problem.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you
Mr.
so much.
Zigibe, political affairs analyst, for coming on the show.
It is
We
my
really
pleasure.
appreciate your
Thank you
time.
so much.
All right, that's our offering for you right here in the Lagos Network studios.